I know what you're thinking. Is this the booth, drafting the circuits, three-way theater, or the Kevin Jackson show? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kinda lost track myself here on Whoobazoo.com. So, do you feel lucky, punk?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
This is blasphemy. This is madness. This is the booth.
Staring down, looking at the blood-stained concrete. You're the dead MC, lying at my feet. You took a 9mm rhyme straight to your mind. Damn, my better split. This is my time, so I make my way up the block. Get to home base and lock that up. Crack the Cavassier and grab the phone. Call one of my troops up. Hope the soldiers homie says, yo, what's up, what's going on? Make it quick, cause I'm trying to get my Stella on. Nigga, your girl, I'm in the... These lyrical assassins tried to pull a hit, and then boom, came a noise from the other room. It was the boys in blue with the SWAT crew. They got us locked up for lyrical murder. It's one of them charges that you never heard of. It's the booth. The booth. The booth. The booth. Yeah, it's the booth. The booth. The booth. Yeah, we're killing all your podcasts like the HIV virus. You want to battle this kid? Huh, don't even try this. Back the up, think again, count to 10. You want to grab that mic just to get done in? It's the booth. The booth. The booth. The booth. Yeah, it's the booth. The booth. The booth. The booth. Yeah, it's the booth.
Was he African?
African.
No. He was American, and he was like you. He looked just like you.
He was Jewish.
Just like you.
Okay, Jew.
Hey.
It's an odd crime for a Jew to commit.
Yeah, pretty docile.
Okay, so we have an African Jew wearing a hoodie.
No, you don't.
No.
No, that's not what I said. Is that what you heard me say? I said he looked like you. Do you look like an African Jew?
No, I look like a cop.
Yeah.
He was Caucasian.
All right, your boy Sinister One broadcasting live from the City of Champions. You are listening to The Booth. And I am here with my man Kent Diesel.
Yo.
Robert Resnick. R Squid. What's going on, guys?
Glad to be here. Just hanging loose here. Keeping it real in the City of Champions, brother.
Excited about a football show. It's been many months.
Yep, tonight is the night. Season kicks off on Thursday. Patriots home opener. I'm actually going to be down at Columbus Park around noon. But, yeah, season kicks off Thursday night, man. Roger Goddell is supposed to be here. And one of the guys around here, one of the internet social media guys around here has ordered from Boston Barstool Sports. He's got 70,000 clown towels. That's these pictures of Robert Goodell as a clown that they're giving out to everybody who enters that stadium on Thursday night. Plus, they raised the banner. But before we get into this NFL...
And what banner would that be, Sinister One?
That would be our Super Bowl champion banner for Super Bowl 51. It's a very nice banner, I must say. And I can't wait to see it when it gets hung up. And I know that Robert, a Giants fan, who, yeah, they stole two from us. They earned. I'm not gonna lie, they didn't steal. A lot of people will say they were stolen, but as I said it 2 weeks ago, I said they earned it. They played their butts off in Week 17 against the Pats, and that let them know, hey, we had them on the ropes. We had them play four quarters of football. Let's get another chance at these guys, and they did, and they beat the Pats in the Super Bowl.
You want Super Bowls where both teams earn it, and then somebody unfortunately has to win. But both those games, the teams played real well.
Yeah, and when you go on NFL Network and watch the best games in history, Super Bowl games, both of those games are in there.
Yep.
And people will talk about those games forever. But we got a football show that we're going to talk about. But first, there's only one thing. I just want to tease it because we're actually going to talk about this next week. But I definitely got to tease this because Trump, again, is in the news before we come on. And Trump has done this thing where he's, well, to be honest, Congress has to really kind of say if this is going to go away or not. So, I mean, a lot of people are wasting a lot of emotion, being upset, crying. They're in the streets. But again, if Congress doesn't allow this to go through, it's another Trump thing that Trump supporters are applauding, but it doesn't go through. So I'm going to let Ken speak on it because Ken is our defense attorney. And for those who don't know who Ken is a defense attorney who also specializes in family and immigration law. So I'm going to let Ken get in here, and I'm not going to step on his toes because he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Okay, thank you, Sinister One. There's something called DACA, which is an acronym which stands for Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals. It's an Obama-era program that basically said that if you were brought here as a child, meaning if you were below the age of 18, and you don't have a criminal record, you can apply for what they call deferred action, which basically means where you are technically not supposed to be here, but we will not take any action that forces you to leave, or what is called removal proceedings. And we will allow you to work, give you what we call an employment authorization document, or an EAD, pending while we figure these things out. It's been deemed to be legal because in the Immigration Nationality Act, it's very clear that the president has the absolute authority to set removal priorities. He can say some groups we're just not going to go over. We don't have the budget, and we're going to go after other people. Trump has threatened to eliminate that in 6 months, but more on that next week.
Yeah, and just real quick, how this is going to affect people, just going to give you guys a quick example for those who are listening real quick. If you have a younger child, maybe about 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe a teenager, it's going to hit this group of kids hard. Why? And I'm going to tell you real quick because we're going to get into it next week. I'm going to name off two people real quick right now. Becky G is one of them, and another one is Demi Lovato. These are two kids who came here under this situation that were big stars on Disney and Nickelodeon. Becky G is a young girl who grew a big fan base being real young and being on YouTube, and she sang these cover songs, and she caught the attention of J-Lo, and I believe, I forget the Pitbull. And she did a song with these two guys, and she blew up, and what happened was she won the major role of the Yellow Power Ranger in the new Power Rangers movie that just came out. This is a young girl who now faces deportation under this whole – and I'm just letting you know, these are the people that's going to affect. This is letting you know how long this has been affected because this is a girl that came in. She was young now. She's working. And Demi Lovato's another one. She came up through Disney, and, you know, she's a big major singer now. She could possibly be deported. And it's a scary, scary thing. So for those who are listening to the show tonight, I believe if you go on Spotify, there is a playlist, and it features all of the musical artists who came here as kids who are now living their life successfully. I'm hearing Jared Leto, who was in Suicide Squad, who played Joker. He also came here. I believe he's got Cuban background. I guess he came here. And he's under this. So Jared Leto.
Actually, he's not. There's a separate statute that covers Cubans. It's
okay.
Very, yeah, I mean, yes, he is a childhood arrival, but there is a separate statute that only available to Cubans.
Okay, so we'll get into that and explain that.
That's a whole different issue, which is causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, because you said that this whole thing by him doing this has caused a lot of other legal ramifications. And again,
huge ramifications.
Yeah. Well, this
goes back. One of the biggest is going to be if it goes away, our employer is now liable for hiring improper people. But that's an issue but I'll leave it up to next week.
Yeah, and like we said, we're gonna get into this next week. The other thing, like I said, is that, you know, this causes, again, this is somebody who's making decisions without doing the homework, which we've seen this before. We've seen this when he put the first travel ban into play. Right. He never contacted NSA. He never contacted the airlines. He just put that ban out there and turned I remember going to work at Logan Airport, and he flipped the whole airport industry upside down, never notified anybody. People were trapped. They were stuck in the airport. So we're definitely going to get into this next week. But, man, football talk, the season kicks off this Thursday. Pats. I'm actually waiting for Kevin Tocci to arrive. When I see him pop up, I'm going to get him on
All
the
right,
show.
before we get Mitt, the booth does need to do his mea culpa.
Yes. Yep.
As
Let's
some of
do
you
it.
know, that one of the things that especially those of you in the sports industry know, that if you talk about football, use any accounts of football games, you have to get the permission of the NFL. And one of the things we had to do is we had to sign an agreement with the NFL that we would abide by their parity and diversity rules. Well, last year we got called on the carpet because we had 3 Pats fans and nobody else, and Roger Goodell's office was very upset with us. So we were forced to diversify. So this show, we want to make sure everyone understands that not only do we have a non-Patriots fan, but we even went outside the AFC to the NFC to bring R Squared in here. So he is a self-proclaimed Giants fan and has been for as long as I've known him. I've known him for over 25 years. He's probably a Giants fan any longer than that. So he's the real deal. So we are officially meeting the diversity and parity guidelines of the NFL, so the NFL can get off my back. Just had to say that.
I'm surprised you didn't give him the big FU, Ken, when he called you and sent you that letter, that dreaded letter that I've gotten two of.
Yeah, well, I was tempted to say that, but I know how much we want to talk about football, and until we do that, we can't talk about football. So sometimes you gotta swallow your pride and just, do your job. Coach Bill Belichick.
Okay, look, guys. This week we've decided, because Robert last week came on, and I've always been scared of utilizing the video while we do Skype, because I do a lot of stuff here. I have iTunes open, I have 2 Skypes open, and the butt file, so we can broadcast the show live worldwide. So I don't want to use video to draw down. I feel like I'm on the episode of 24, and they're waiting to get more power out of the system so they can track down terrorists. So I'm sitting here like Chloe or whatever, I forget her name was, but
Chloe, that's right.
Yeah, Chloe. I feel like Chloe with Jack Bauer over my shoulder. What's going on, Chloe? The system's loaded. We've got to shut down some of the stuff in the system. So I've got these 2 guys now looking at me through video because it worked real well last week. The only problem now is I've got Ken's mug live looking at me, and Ken is doing all these things on video that he usually would do when he's not on video. He's eating chips.
I am not eating chips. Okay, let's get this straight. I will now hold up. I'm drinking an official NFL product, okay? Because we have the NFL game, the NFL show, okay?
Oh, I wish there was a way I could. To be honest, I wish there was a way. And look, I'm going to be relentless on this. I'm going to find a way to capture this Skype video, and we're gonna get this, and we'll be able to post this. And Ken, you're just killing me, dude. But I got Robert. He went out. He grabbed his headset. We're all set to go. Football talk is here. 2017 season kicks off. Before we get into the Pats talk, because I'm going to save that for when Kevin Tocci gets here. Let's look around the horn. Last year, Atlanta went all the way in the NFC. A lot of people said they were lucky to get there because Dallas suffered some major injuries, and Green Bay, I believe, had some major injuries down the stretch. I think they had a defensive lineman, and somebody else had got hurt. Heading down that stretch, that was a major key, which is why Atlanta kind of ran that table towards the end. I'm gonna go around the horn, and I know here in the AFC we're gonna have our answers, but let's go around the horn and let's talk NFC. Most improved, and who do you think is gonna go this year in the NFC? And I'm gonna start off with Robert, because Robert's an NFC East guy. He loves the Giants, and we talked about this about a couple of weeks ago. The NFC East is a real tough division. You got 3 solid teams, but you do have Redskins who are like the Buffalo Bills. They always play all the teams in their division tough when it comes time to play. So let's start off with that NFC conference, and let's see what Robert has to say, because you've got 3 teams there that could be right at the top of that list again.
Yeah, well, the problem is you've got a really strong NFC East with teams, including the Redskins, that are going to play each other real hard, and they're going to play probably anybody real hard. And so no one out of the NFC East is going to come in with the home field advantage. And that's actually the way Atlanta managed to be a little bit more successful when some of those other teams struggled at the end of the year. Atlanta did not have to go on the road. They were able to play at home in their dome. And a lot of the critics had said that there's no way Atlanta could go to a place like Green Bay like the Giants did a few years ago and went on the road in a major playoff game. And so Atlanta got lucky that they were able to host some games, play in better weather. And I'm not saying that they had an easy time of it. They played some really good teams to get there and almost pulled it off. But at the same time, they didn't have to do what some of the people said they couldn't do. They didn't prove themselves that way like some other teams would have had to do. Nevertheless, I think Atlanta is one of the strongest teams to come out of the NFC. I think they'll do well in their division. That'll give them the wins they need to make the playoffs and maybe even host a game or two. So I would keep my eyes on Atlanta. I really think that they're going to do well considering where they play. It all depends on what Carolina and New Orleans did in the offseason. I think they improved themselves, but I'm not so sure that they improved themselves enough. Maybe they'll play each other hard the way the NFC East does, and we'll see. If you look up north, Green Bay is going to be the class of the conference of the division again. They're just so strong. They lost some players, but they picked up some players. I like Green Bay coming out of there. We'll see if Minnesota can give them a run for it. They've got to stay healthy. They had that problem last year with injuries that kept them out, although again, I think they tooled themselves pretty well to try to give Green Bay a run. I don't see Chicago making a run this year, that's for sure. And I just think that Green Bay is going to come out of there. So then you look at the West. Arizona, real good team. They're looking strong. What's Seattle going to do? I think those two teams will fight it out. If you want to know who's looking improved, I think the Niners are a fairly improved team. I don't think they're good enough to make a playoff run, certainly not a Super Bowl run. I don't think their quarterback is good enough. I don't think they have enough depth, but I think they'll play better. And then, of course, we'll see what the Rams do in their new stadium and all that. They're a decent team. I think it'll come down to Arizona and Seattle. I'm not sure who's going to take the West, but I think it'll be one of those teams for certain. So that brings me back to the NFC East. Again, they're going to beat the crap out of each other. I like what Dallas did in the offseason. I think they strengthened themselves. I think Elliott's going to take care of matters. He'll probably get the suspension cut once they make a decision on that, and I think the team is strong enough to do well. I hate to say it, but Dallas probably has the strongest ability to come out of the East this year. We'll see. We'll know on Sunday when we'll see how the Giants play. The problem with the Giants, a lot of people said this could be their year, and goodness knows I'll always root for Big Blue, and I hope it's true. But at the same time, the Giants lack the depth. They just, for the last few years, they just haven't had depth. And you can't win. You can't make a playoff run when you lack depth for two reasons. Number one, you just need the players. And number two, the Giants have one of the worst injury problems going back several years now that I think any team in the NFL has. Now, granted, they've been able to overcome those when their players come back late in the season and they make a good run at it, including winning a Super Bowl after they got healthy. But I just can't count on that. And so I think the Giants, because they just don't have the depth, they don't have the offensive line that they need. They didn't make enough moves in the offseason to open up that running game. And without the running game, let's face it, they'll double up Beckham. Eli's going to make dumb mistakes, and the defense is going to do a good job, but they're not going to be enough to win some of the big games that they need. And the Giants will have a much tougher schedule this year than they did last year. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to watch closely. I think we'll know in the first few weeks how some of those teams stack up. But if I had to bet, and I hate to do this, but I have to be honest with our listeners, I would say Dallas is probably the team to watch in the East. I don't think the Eagles are going to do it. I don't think the Redskins are going to do it. But goodness knows it'll be just a game or two between all four of those teams that make the difference.
Ken?
Okay, well, I'm going to go a geographic base. I'm going to start with the West because I think there's a couple teams in the West that everyone's been ignoring. I think they're going to make a run for your money, and those teams are going to be Arizona and L.A. I think Arizona has consistently over the years fielded a good team, not a great team, but a good team, a solid team, and I think they're one or two players away from being a breakout team. And if they manage to get them, if they got a couple guys on the roster we've never heard of, a bunch of rookies, be careful because Arizona has shown in the past that they can run up the score on people. They can take care of business. They had an awesome pass rush last year, which no one paid any attention to. Look at Arizona. LA's another team that everyone ignored. Everyone, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I should say, was the greatest show on turf. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they faded to black, and everyone ignored them. Big freaking mistake. Arizona and LA, it's going to be a blood-on-the-floor match out there. San Francisco and Seattle, they're going to be doormats of the league. I'm sorry. Please.
Really? Seattle? You think Seattle's going to be a doormat, huh?
Seattle is one and done. They had a good team and they're going to get crushed this year because they don't have the staying power.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
The South. Here's your if you're a gambler and you want to throw down some crazy bets, take the NFC South because frankly I'm looking at 4 teams there and I really don't have an opinion on any of them. Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay. Atlanta, they're the odds-on favorite because they're the NFC champs returning from last year. But let's face it, that Super Bowl was a shell shock to them. They got in because they were, like as Rob said, they played all their playoff games in their dome stadium. They're going to have a much tougher calendar here against some really hard teams. And I'm not so sure they're going to be able to close the deal. Carolina, the question is what Carolina shows up on any given Sunday. I mean, literally, am I getting the Pop Warner B squad or am I getting the Carolina Panthers? Golly knows. New Orleans, always a team you got to watch. They have got, again, consistency's always been their problem. And Tampa Bay, again, strong competitor, which no one pays attention to. They're a second-ranked team. However, a couple of good breaks, a couple of bad breaks with Atlanta or Carolina, and they're looking at a wild card spot. NFC North. I have to admit, I've always had a soft spot for the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the team that, for God's sakes, these guys can't catch a break with a catcher's mitt. They have been the league's doormat for 50 years, and I feel bad about them. And unfortunately, I don't think they get any better this year.
Wait, you mean you're not like me who likes to sit there and eat turkey and watch them get carved up year after year on Thanksgiving?
No, I actually root for them. I root for them because I want Detroit to win, only for no other reason than so they're going to be the doormat of the NFC North, which is going to be a problem because Green Bay they didn't have enough to close the deal, but be careful of them. Chicago's, again, looking strong. They've always had a ferocious defense, and I think this year is going to be the year of the defense. Mark my words. I think with the rule changes, I think it's going to be the year of the defense. Minnesota, a good mid-level team that's going to cause a lot of problems to people. They're going to be the spoiler. Minnesota won't make the playoffs, but they're going to keep other people out of the playoffs because they'll go to Minnesota with a must-win game, and Minnesota's going to tear them a new orifice. Okay. The NFC East. Let me just say something to begin with. Full disclosure time, okay? Mm-hmm. Rob, since the one you listened to me?
Yep.
I have hated the Dallas Cowboys since Roger Staubach was their quarterback.
Wow,
I think they are the most overrated team in NFL history. They've been incredibly lucky over the years to make the playoffs. They don't have it. I do not see the Dallas Cowboys even making the playoffs this year.
I hope you're right, my buddy.
They are not. The problem is, and here's the thing you got to be careful. I agree with the Giants. Again, on paper, the Giants are one of the best teams in the NFL right now. But for some reason, Rob and I talked about this off air 2 weeks ago. I don't know if they, cursed a voodoo princess and she got him back at him. Maybe they need to, to reconsecrate MetLife Stadium and call it Giant Stadium again, or whatever. But they seem to have injuries to key players at the worst moments. The trifecta. If they stay healthy, and granted, guys, that's a big if, look to the Giants, the NFC East leaders, and definitely playoff contenders if they stay healthy. Okay? Big if. Philadelphia, another great team that you don't know who's going to show up. They're definitely going to be spoilers this year. They may not make the playoffs, but they'll prevent other teams from making the playoffs. And they're always a hard team to play, especially when they're playing at home in the late fall. Okay? Because if you bring some of these warm weather teams into Philadelphia in the late fall, early winter, November, December, those are hard games to win. The Washington bleeps. I have no idea. I honestly, I have been wrong about the Washington team for 30 years. Every time I think they're going to do well, they retain canal water. Every time I think they couldn't win a game against a Pop Warner team, they run the tables on the league. So I'm going to take the safe bet. I'm going to wuss out and say Washington has a team of potential and leave it at that.
Well, what happens in the East is the Eagles and the Redskins will do those great games and knock other people out of the playoff, like you said, Ken. They'll even hurt the Giants because the Eagles will beat them twice. But what'll happen is they'll both choke against Dallas and give Dallas 4 wins, and that's where Dallas takes the lead in the division. Unfortunately.
Silent infidel.
But I hope you're
no,
right.
Dallas is going down. I mean,
you're
I'm
right.
sorry. Let's break Dallas down if we can. Their offensive line, one of the poorest in the league. They've got
Really?
Please.
But so is the Giants. That's the equalizer
Yeah,
there.
well, that's the thing. What Dallas has always had, and they've had this since the 70s, Roger Staubach, is an incredible running offense and passing offense. I don't see the breakout player this year on the ground for Dallas. Who do they have as a breakout player? They got some good running backs. Don't misunderstand me. Who do they have as a breakout player?
Ezekiel Elliott, who may be suspended. We don't know yet.
Maybe he's suspended and not playing, but he's not a breakout runner. But here's what happens when they double and triple team him. Okay?
Well, you throw it to Des.
The guy you got.
You throw it to Des Bryant.
I'm talking on the ground. We'll get to the.
Okay.
They don't have a deep threat. Their defense, I mean, hell, for God's sakes, I could beat their defense. Their special teams anything great, and I'm sorry. They're running the same 7 plays they've run since, I don't know, Bush 1 was president. Don't see it this year. Especially
we'll
if they
see.
play
It'll all depend on Prescott. Now that he's in his sophomore season, we'll see how he does. He was a breakout star last year. Nobody knew what to expect. Now they've got a year of film on him. If they can stop Prescott, or if Prescott impresses everybody like he did last year, that's going to be the whole difference for that team, I think.
I agree with everything you said. And the key word there is he was a breakout star last year when nobody had film on him. Now every team in the NFL, can fill a library with the film. And I'm sorry, he can't scramble terribly well. I don't think he's a particularly good reader of, sit him back in the pocket and give him 20 minutes. Sure, he can burn you. Give me 20 minutes, I'll burn you. Okay? What happens when he has 3 linebackers, chasing him down? Can he throw on the run? Can he scramble out of the pocket? Can he get 4 or 5 yards on a broken play? I'm not sure. Talk to me in 6 weeks.
All right, let me jump in here. Let me break down my NFC. And since we're on the NFC East, I'm going to jump right in there. And you know what? As much as my son loves the Eagles, this year, I hate to say this, but let's go back to tragedy. And I hate to bring up tragedy. Let's bring up 9/11. 9/11, both planes took off. One took off from here in New England, one took off in New York. It was the first time in history that the NFL season had to be postponed. That year, the team that went to the Super Bowl and won was the team that was flying America's colors, the New England Patriots. All right? You have Katrina, a great major tragedy. Just a couple of years after that, who was inspired? The New Orleans Saints. All right? You have the Boston Red Sox. You have the Patriot bombings. Who takes home the Red Sox championship that year? The Red Sox did. Now you have Hurricane Harvey. And I feel and I believe that tragedy inspires mental and physical toughness. And if it isn't going to be for the AFC Houston Texans, I think you're going to see the same thing from the Dallas Cowboys come this season. I think they're going to be inspired by what has been seen down there for these floods. I think there's going to be a lot of push for this team to rise above and beyond and try to make it to that Super Bowl because of what's happened down there in Texas. So I think right now I'm going to say that NFC East is going to have to, I think all roads lead through Dallas just because of the situation there. And we've seen it time and time again in sports where teams go above and beyond in the face of tragedy and adversity. And I got to go with the Cowboys, NFC East. I also think Ezekiel Elliott is going to play this season, and I think you're going to see Dak Prescott have a hell of a season this year. I think you're going to see a real good season from them this year, and I think it's going to be inspired because of what's happened down there in Texas, to be honest. NFC West, Ken, I don't know. I can't see the Seahawks. It's one of the toughest places to play. I can't say. And you know what? I love the coach. You know, I had a place in my heart for him when he was here. He was like an uncle to me. You know what I'm saying? You feel for him. And I hate for you to say that they're going to be a doormat. I can't see Seattle being the doormat. I like the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to be right there at the end again. The Rams, they're not in their new stadium yet. They're still going to be kind of on the road because their stadium has been delayed. Arizona, I like Arizona. But again, I feel like the Seahawks are going to be back in there again. 49ers got a good team, but again, I got to go with the Seahawks for NFC West for this season. NFC North.
You make a good point on that home field there. I saw the Giants play 3 times out in Seattle, and each time they were good close games, but that home field advantage just destroyed them all 3 times. It's an amazing place to play football.
They actually
there's no question
hold
about
the record.
that.
Well, they hold the world's record for the loudest stadium, and them in Kansas City, Arrowhead, they've gone back and forth one year with that. It's been real interesting. I'm surprised that the NFL Network or NFL hasn't really touched base on this battle that goes back and forth every year for the loudest stadium. They've actually, I think, one year they both broke it back to back for the loudest stadium for overall public events, the decibel level. So that's without pumping crowd noise into the stands like Indianapolis did.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Seattle.
Yep.
They're a great team when everything is going their way. When things are not going their way, they fall apart. They're not like
Correct.
The Patriots or the Steelers or the Steelers.
Yes, they do. They do fall apart like a squad of rookies when they've got a lot of veterans there. And that again, that's the knock against Pete Carroll. Remember, that was the big complaint about Pete Carroll when he was here, that he wasn't the tough guy when things hit the bricks. And that was one of the things. But again, I can't see them being the NFC doormat up there. I still think Seattle is a tough place to go. And again, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, so they're gonna have a little bit easier schedule this year. And I have to respect Seattle this year for NFC up there in the NFC West. North, Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings. Lions. I love the Lions, but unfortunately, I saw a certain player for the Lions, Barry Sanders, play Wayne Fonts on Thanksgiving Day, and I believe Barry Sanders ate up over 200 yards in this game, and they still lost. And Barry Sanders walked away from football because he got tired of for this Detroit Lion team, who was pretty much a tax write-off for the owner. They didn't care about the Super Bowl, and he ran his ass off. He walked away from football. He never looked back, and I've always said that's the curse of Barry Sanders for the Detroit Lions. They're never, ever, ever going to go anywhere. And they've had some quality players, and they still can't get it done. So I don't think you're ever going to see the Lions ever make it to a Super Bowl. Packers and Vikings. For some reason, my heart is telling me that the Minnesota Vikings, this is going to be their year in this division. I think they've gotten rid of some people that they needed to get rid of. And I think you're going to see it turn around on the arm of the quarterback. I like the Vikings this year. When you go down to NFC South, you've got the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Bucks. I have a feeling, mark my words, that the NFC South this season will be just like the NFC East. And the reason being is because I feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think with their new quarterback, their quarterback is in his second year, same thing as Dak. I feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the team to watch, this sleeper team in the NFC. I think the Tampa Bay Bucs is going to quietly get some wins, but because of their past history, a lot of people may not pay attention to Tampa Bay and what they're doing until week 6, week 7. People may focus some attention on them if they're above 500. And to be honest, that's the same thing the Pats did. Remember when the Pats went and won when they went to that first Super Bowl, a lot of people didn't pay attention to the Pats until the Rams came here to play in Foxborough. And when they left the stadium, Mike Mott said, we're going to see them again. And he knew it. He knew they were going to see the Patriots again. So you have to realize you've got these teams. I'm going to say the Buccaneers are the most improved team in the NFC, and I think they're going to be your dark horse. I like the Bucs in the NFC South over all of those teams this year. I think you're going to see a big surprise from them from the NFC. As far as taking the NFC championship overall, it's Dallas. I think this is Dallas's year. I think they're going to be inspired, and I think you're going to see them all the way in the NFC Conference Championship.
Dude,
just let you know, Ken.
Put the crap pipe down. Step away.
Just let you know, I'm on the Jerry Jones bandwagon for the NFC this season.
They may make the playoffs as a wild card. That's it.
Who's going to beat them? Who do you think is going to beat them in the playoffs?
If they make it, Green Bay. Definitely. Other teams that I think that are going to make it, I definitely think Green Bay will beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, if they make it, will beat them, especially if they're all playing on the road. Again, I have the NFC South. Atlanta. They beat them last time. Or Arizona. Any of those teams can beat them.
Robert?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, home field advantage is going to answer that question. I think I sort of agree with Ken that if Dallas has to go to Seattle, Green Bay, or Atlanta, and maybe even Arizona, I think they could lose all of those games on the road. If somehow Dallas puts enough wins together to host a championship game, they'll be tough to beat down in Dallas, depending on who they play. But
that's my feeling
we'll
with
see.
this is them host. That's my feeling is them hosting this championship game. It's gonna be hard to go into Dallas after what has happened down there. It is going to be hard if they get home field advantage. And God, don't let them get the bye. If Dallas can go and get this bye,
they're not going to get a bye. I'm sorry. No. Okay, hold on a second.
Okay.
Let's break this down logically. To get a bye, that means you're telling me they're going to have a better record than the Giants, Green Bay, Atlanta, and Arizona.
Well, Rob already told you about the Giants. He said the Giants, unfortunately, because of the division they're in, they're always going to end up. So he's already eliminated them from that question of getting the home field NFC Championship game out there for the Giants. So now what's your other two choices? Green Bay?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't think – no, they're not going to be able to have a better record than Green Bay. And with all due respect to Tony Arnold, good friend of the show and a Green Bay fanatic, I can't stand Green Bay either. Okay? All I can say is thank God for Dallas, as far as the Green Bay fans I'm concerned. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they have a better record than Arizona. I think Arizona is a sleeper team in the NFC right now, and they're going to start, cleaning clocks and, what's that, ripping a new orifice and walking it dry, whatever the quote is. I'm trying to be clean here.
That's real bad. That is bad.
They're the team that you need to look out for in the NFC because they're going to be stomping people and they'll be stomping people hard.
Okay, so let's just break this down before we get in the AFC real quick. So this season, and here's where it starts right off, because week 1, Giants and Cowboys to open the season this Sunday. All right, so that's a big NFC matchup right out the gate. Then the following week they've got the Broncos. Week 3, here we go, Arizona. So we're going to see something right there off the bat. Arizona. After that, the Rams, Packers, then the Niners. Then the Redskins. So right there, you're gonna see what team this Cowboys team is right there. They've got the Chiefs after that, then the Falcons, the Eagles again, Chargers, Redskins, Giants again, Raiders, Seahawks, and then they close out against the Eagles. So not a cakewalk, but
it's a tough schedule.
They can wrap up home field if they win these early games, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if I was 50 pounds lighter, 20 years younger, and throw a football, I'd be Tom Brady's backup.
Yeah, that ain't happening because you'd be traded to Indianapolis like Jacoby Brissett,
right,
which is a good trade. Which was a great trade, by the way.
Oh, it's a great trade. I think Brissett's very happy. He's the third stringer, and hey,
he's starting because Andrew Luck is injured.
Right,
Andrew Luck is.
Yeah,
if I were Brissett, I'd be kissing everybody.
Really? They've already announced. Hold on, they've already announced the starter.
Yeah, they announced Tolzien's going to start. I think they need Brissett to learn the offense a little bit more.
Oh, okay. And he could realistically come. I'll tell you right now, he's going to shine in that offense up there in Indianapolis. I think if he gets that chance, I think he's going to shine. And you have to look at everybody that's come out of that Belichick, Tom Brady coaching tree has been pretty successful. Yeah. If you put them in that right situation. So let's get into the AFC because we are flying around. Here, 7:39. I'm still waiting for Kevin Chachi to be able to join us when he can. But let's get into this AFC. I'm going to start off with you, Ken, this time since we're the AFC guys.
Okay. I'm going to keep going my geographic. I'm going to go west to east. Okay. The AFC West. Okay. The Division of Death is what I'm calling it. Denver, Kansas City, LA, and Oakland. Oh, my God. What, the Marquis de Sade just, resurrect himself and decide to design a horrible oh, my God. I think it's going to be the last man standing, and I got to give it to Denver. It's, I don't think they're going to have anybody left alive on any of those teams.
The team that just brought Brock Osweiler back.
Yes, and here's the reason.
He screwed them over, to be honest.
Right.
So.
Here's the reason. Most of the teams in the West, except for Denver, play in warm weather. Okay, Oakland, LA, Kansas City. Denver's a cold weather team. Always give the advantages to cold weather team, especially in November and December. The other thing is Mile High Stadium, or I should say, it's the official title is Invesco Field at Mile High. Have you ever tried? I've been to Denver a whole mess of times. My father lives out there. Walking around, I get winded. To play 60 minutes of football, oh, good luck.
Actually, to be honest, I heard a funny. It was a story last week in the news. Willie Nelson was out there for a concert, and he had to cancel because of the high altitude. And for some reason, I just found that there could have been some great opportunities as a joke there that Willie Nelson canceled because of the high altitude, and he's a big weed smoker, and it's legal. I just think there's some type of opportunity for a great joke right there. I just couldn't put my hand on it.
I'm sure there is, but yeah, I'm giving the division to Denver, but I don't think they're getting any farther than the division because they're so banged up. Called the division of death. AFC South. This is the division you have to watch because one of these teams is going to walk out of there, and you're going to go, oh my God, I can't believe it. And based on, I'm using Sinister One's theory, I'm picking the Houston Texans. They are coming out a team that's a city's been utterly devastated, like New Orleans, a team that no one's paying any attention to, like New Orleans a couple years ago. They got some young players. They got a team. They got a good coaching staff. Look at Houston. But don't turn your back on either Indianapolis, Jacksonville, or Tennessee. You know, you got Indianapolis has got a long pedigree, and if Luck can get healthy or if Brissett comes on board, a good team. Jacksonville, they're the doormats, but again, their roles can be spoilers, and Tennessee always gives a good showing. So be careful of the AFC South. The AFC North, or as I like to call them, the blood division, okay? Because they donate more blood on any given Sunday than the Red Cross does all year. Who do you got? Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. My God, that's not a football game. That's a rumble with helmets. But let me tell you something. They're battered and bruised, but look at Pittsburgh. Long history of winning, 6 Super Bowls. They know how to win. They have always had one of the best defenses in the NFL, and I'm going with Pittsburgh to take it. But keep your eye on Baltimore. They are going to make everyone's life in the AFC a living hell, including New England's. They hit viciously. They can run. They can pass. Cincinnati and Cleveland, they're going to be your spoilers. Not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to keep other people out. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last, but certainly not least, the AFC East. Okay, there's only one team in the AFC East you need to pay attention to, and the other 3 can go. No, let's face it, they retain canal water. New England, 5th Super Bowl win, only team in NFL history to have 5 Super Bowl wins with the same head coach and starting quarterback. Everybody is healthy except for Edelman. I don't know if anyone saw the Facebook meme someone posted that said Bill Belichick had just hired some random Walmart clerk and he's supposed to lead the NFL in pass receptions. They picked up a couple they had that blockbuster trade recently. They're going to walk away with the division. There's no one that can touch them. The New York Jets are pathetic. They are pathetic. If they break 500, I'd be popping champagne corks. Buffalo, I feel sorry for them. They should go to another division. I think they should go seriously.
Mike Fury's listening. Tread easy. Mike Fury's listening.
No. I like Buffalo. All respect to Buffalo. I respected their fans. I respected the team. They're a tough team in a horrible division. They are, as far as I'm concerned, they're the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL. They get no respect, and they should. They always play hard and tough, but they can't seem to put together. I don't know why. Again, another team that pissed off a voodoo princess or something else. But Buffalo is going to ruin somebody's season. I don't know who, but it'll be the last game of the year, and they're going to ruin it. Miami, respect to Joe O'Neill, good friend of the show's. It's not their year. Hasn't been their year since 1972.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Right. And they have just got more problems. They've got managerial problems. They've got coaching problems. They've got QB problems. Yeah, if I'm a Miami fan, maybe I'm taking up hockey this year.
Man, woo! I'm going to let Rob go. And you done? You done now?
I'm done. I'm
All
done.
right, we're rolling along here. 7:45. We've almost banged out everything.
Keep it moving. Time is money.
Yeah, well,
All right, we're gonna get in. I'm dying to see what Rob is gonna have to say when he gets to that AFC East. I am just waiting to see what he says.
in the interest of time, I'll go through this on the quick side so we can cover some more issues. But you know what? I'm not even going to make you wait for this because let's start in the East. It's the easiest division in all of football to pick the winner. It's going to be the Patriots. There's nobody else who's going to play football in that division.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ken said, the other teams are just pitiful right now, and there may be reasons for it. I mean, I hope they can improve. Let's face it. The Patriots have earned their Super Bowls, but they've had one of the easiest ways to get there because they have no competition in their division, unlike the other teams that have to fight their way in. But they certainly have to fight to win the Super Bowl, so I'm not taking that away from them. I'm just saying that they have the weakest division in football for the last several years, and that's just a shame to see because, the Dolphins are really a storied team, and they've put together, it's just a shame to see. And I'd like to see that division improve so that there can be some much stronger football like the NFC East. I'd like to see the AFC East get back to that. So anyway, that's the easiest one to pick. The Patriots, hands down, bet anything you want on it. You go to the AFC North, I think, those teams are going to beat the crap out of each other like they do. I think Cleveland may win best, most improved team in the NFL this year, but they're not good enough to make a run, that's for sure. But they're going to be much better than they were. And none of those teams is going to be a doormat. I mean, they can all play tough. I do give it to Pittsburgh. I think their history, their depth on the team, I think it's going to be the Steelers coming out of the North. The South, Houston, hands down. It's probably the second easiest conference to pick this year. Jacksonville is just too weak. Indianapolis has problems again this year. And Tennessee, they have to prove themselves first. Let's see how Mariota does. A lot of people think he's going to have a good season this year. I need to see it before I believe it. I hope he does. He seems like a good guy. I hope he breaks out. But Tennessee hasn't proven themselves yet. So Houston's an easy pick for me to come out of there. And so then that goes to the West. And that's going to be a really tough division as well. I think it probably will be Denver because of that home field, especially as the weather gets bad. Not only do you have the elevation, you'll have the cold and snow and wind. Kansas City has some good home field advantage, though, because it gets cold and windy there. Trust me, I spent a few Kansas winters. They're going to have some home field when they try to, if the Chargers or others have to go out there and leave the confines of Southern California. So I think Kansas City is for real. Last year, they really crapped out late because of some injuries. If they could put it together, they'll give the Super Bowl a run for it, not just the Broncos. But I guess maybe the smart money is the Broncos, but Kansas City is at least a wild card, if not the division winner.
Nice breakdown, man. Robert, I'm going to give him a hand. Man, he's fitting right in, man. He's rolling right along. I'm going to jump right in. Since he stopped at the AFC West, I'm going to just pick it up with my selection from the AFC West, man. And I look, for some reason my heart is telling me that the Raiders are going to have a good year. Actually, I have the Raiders beating the Pats in this Mexico game. That's a toss-up game. As much as everybody wants to pick the Pats, going into Mexico to play a game is hard. There's a time change. It's travel. I feel when you go to Mexico, it's anybody's game. It's a toss-up. I also have a feeling that this Mexico game, because it's closer to the Raiders, I have a feeling that's going to be a better home game for the Raiders. I think you're going to see the Raiders come away with a win. I like the Raiders' chances in the AFC West, but I think this is the year that the Chiefs are going to squeak in there and get that playoff spot. I feel like this is the Chiefs' year. The Chiefs were almost there with a solid running game last year, but they had a couple of injuries, and they have a pretty new coaching staff up there. Again, a lot of those guys are from the Patriots up there, so they're waiting to be successful. Speaking of Patriots coaching staff, let's head down to the AFC South. Houston Texans. I think we're all on board. The Houston Texans are probably going to take this division because of many reasons. They've got a great coaching staff. Even though they lost Vince Wilfork, they still got J.J. Watt down there, who's been playing on both sides of the ball, too. Playing very well. Again, they're going to be super inspired because of what's happened down there in Texas. I don't think the Colts and Jaguars and Titans have a chance this year. I'm giving the AFC South to the Texans. AFC North. That's my blue-collar, knock-you-in-the-mouth division right there. That is a division where every team, again, it's like that NFC East. When these teams play each other, it's always a great, great, great matchup. But here's the thing. Steelers have a very funny situation going on there. Big Ben Roethlisberger had walked away from football and was to retire. And guess what? Somebody pulled him aside and his agent aside and said, hey, if you walk away from the team this year, you're going to have to pay the team this much X amount of money because you're not done with this so-called car. So guess what? Ben Roethlisberger has been forced to come back and play quarterback. Sometimes when that happens to a player, you don't give 100%. And I'm expecting to see that from Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm not picking the Steelers to take this AFC North. I'm really liking the Cincinnati Bengals this year. They've got a good quarterback down there. They've got some speed at wide receiver. They made a little bit of noise last year. They couldn't really get it done, but I think keep your eyes on the Bengals this year and keep an eye on those Browns. I think those are the two teams in that AFC North that you really want to keep an eye out for. AFC East, look, it's the Patriots again. But here's the reason why the Patriots are so successful, and people are going to ask and rag about it all the time. Patriots are so successful in the AFC East is because they've got great ownership in Bob Kraft, who has done things up here to make this team what it is today. This team is number one in jersey sales. They're right up there with Dallas. Tom Brady is the number one sale for merchandise. I saw this coming years ago when Curtis Martin popped up on TV when his girlfriend Toni Braxton went up to accept the Grammy, and we were like, we finally made it. This is it. We're going to be this echelon team. The Patriots have become that because Bob Kraft has put this team into a position where America loves – well, a lot of America hates this team, but the sales prove otherwise, to be honest.
Merchandising doesn't win games.
Yeah, but merchandising does put money in the pocket and put you where you need to be. So they are winning games because, like Robert says, again, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets have been, as far as ownership goes, horrendous. This crap that went – let's take the Jets, for example. The Jets allowed 3 seasons in a row, the Jets have allowed quarterback controversy. As a head coach, you don't enter a season with quarterback controversy and allow your locker room to be divided the way it was divided the last time that before they made that coaching change to Buffalo. They had a serious quarterback controversy down there. They had a wide receiver controversy down. You just can't let that stuff happen. Buffalo had the same thing last year. They had that stuff last year going on. You can't start seasons with controversy. That falls on ownership. That falls on your coaching staff. Again, Dolphins, piss poor ownership. Joe O'Neill, I love you to death. But again, the ownership down in Miami is horrible. I feel like it's another team where it's just a big write-off. Yeah, you can bring Dan Marino around and cart him around and shake everybody's hands, but at the end of the day, you're not putting a championship quality team, a caliber team on that field every year. You can't win championships by spending money and grabbing wash-ups on free agency. Great example, 2 years ago, what did Miami do? They went out and spent all this money to get Ndamukong Suh to the Miami Dolphins. At that time, they needed a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a running back, and they spent all that money on the defensive guy. A total waste of money, piss poor ownership and coaching. That's horrible, and this is why they're at the bottom of the barrel. This is why the Patriots take it home every year. Jets, piss poor ownership. Darrelle Revis was here, wins the Super Bowl. What happens? The Jets open the floodgates of money for Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis leaves the Patriots, goes to the Jets, shows up to camp 20 pounds overweight. Was he fined? Nope. Was he suspended? Nope. What happened? He played and had the worst year of his career. Again, piss poor ownership and management and coaching. And this is why the Patriots are where they are today. And Robert hit it right on the head. You're dead on, man. And this is why they'll take the AFC East and possibly the Super Bowl this year. But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be tough because, like I said, Houston and Dallas are inspired this year by what has happened down there in Texas, and I firmly believe that I think these two teams, you're going to see them there. And Houston Texans, I think, are going to be a beast in that division. this year in their division this year. So, but that's my pick, man. That's where I'm going.
Okay. All right. We only got 5 minutes left. We got a bunch of topics I'd like to cover. Okay. Most underrated and most overrated team in the NFL. You guys pick for that.
I already said Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to be that team this year. They're going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Underrated, overrated team.
Oh, you think the Bucs are the overrated team?
No, the Bucs are the underrated. They're my underrated and my most improved team. Overrated team, Carolina Panthers.
Okay,
I got it. I got to say Carolina Panthers. Rob?
I think for most overrated team, maybe Minnesota. I think I just don't think they've got the pieces this year to make a real run, especially in that very competitive division. We'll see. I wish them well. Underrated, I think maybe Cleveland. I think they could show some people that they learned how to play football in Cleveland again. And again, they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender, and maybe they're not even going to fight for a wild card, but they're certainly going to win a lot more games than they did last year. I think the biggest bust and disappointment this year is going to be Miami.
It's the same every year. Every year with Miami.
Well, last year they flirted with the playoffs, and they had some issues at the end of the season. Not that they deserved to get in, but this year they're just going to flounder.
And to be honest, they only flirted with the playoffs because Buffalo and the Jets were so bad too.
Yeah.
So that was their only real true reason why they flirted with the playoffs. And there was really no. Well, actually, I think we had a couple of teams because if I remember correctly, I had 3 teams that made it to the playoffs that went 8-8 in our fantasy. So last year, the AFC was part of that problem. Where you had these just at 500, but was still on the cusp of making the playoffs because of the so-called parity in the NFL. But I like that. I like that. I like both of you guys on that one there. That's good answers. I like it.
All right, my overrated team, of course, is Dallas. I've already said that.
Yep, you've said
underrated team, KC, Kansas City Chiefs. They don't get enough respect.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
They're gonna end some people's seasons.
And again, they come. That's the Belichick coaching tree out there in Kansas City. Like I said, they're below the radar. They know how to draft. They're that Belichick coaching tree. Houston, Texas, same thing. Belichick coaching tree. And they're very quiet. And they know what to do out there in KC. I like KC. I like that one, Ken. Like that one. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Again, the Pats opening up here at home on Thursday night, 8 o'clock. I'm actually going to try to see if I can score my tickets for that game. I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed. So,
some of us have to go to work the next day.
Well, yeah, I'm off now. I'm off on Thursdays and Fridays now. I am not at
I got one retired guy, one guy who takes a 4-day weekend. I'm the only working stiff left in this trio.
Speaking of working, you're busy down there. Ken, of course, is a defense attorney. The courthouse in Brockton has been real busy down there. And here's the thing. People hear all these bad stories about Brockton, and lots of times it's not Brockton. It's because our courthouse has to take some of these other bad, horrible stories. You had a guy in West Bridgewater who killed his mother and beat her with a log. You got a guy who was going for a divorce with his wife and went and lit the house on fire. That was Ken. I mean, how do we put up with all these news trucks and stuff? And 40% of these stories are really from Brockton. The rest of them are all from outside of Brockton.
Oh yeah, I mean
that's
what people understand, and they're from Avon and West Bridgewater. These are very, how do I put it politely, white affluent communities.
Yeah, they're money counties.
Yeah,
Bridgewater's a money town.
Yeah. And you see a lot of domestic abuse, a lot of violence coming. Unfortunately, the courthouse that covers those towns in this part of the county is located in Brockton. We also have the county courthouse for the Superior Court. It's also located in Brockton. So if there's going to be a murder or a severe case, it's going to be in the Brockton Superior Court.
And they just moved the
it
new
could be
DA's.
in Plymouth, for all we know, which is like clear across the county. Might as well be in Mars for any of those.
And the new DA's office that opened across the street, what's that handling now? That's picked up some casework too, right?
Well, yeah, no, it's the same DA's office. They just relocated.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't know if they picked up a bigger caseload.
No, they had the same caseload, but that's where unfortunately you're going to see a lot of the people being interviewed because that's the stand-up where they take the interview shots of all the murders. And we got a new first assistant the former Honorable Dick Savignano, we used to call him the Sav Monster when we were defense attorneys. He's now left the bench and become the first assistant, and he's on a tear to clean up Brockton, Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, Avon. I think that's all the communities we cover. So expect the courthouse to get a lot easier.
Doesn't Easton cover?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, very good.
The Easton, I've always called Easton the cheating on the nanny, drunk driving capital of Massachusetts.
No, it's funny you should mention that.
My kids went to school in Easton, so I can say that.
Yeah, Easton actually, I don't know if you saw, they did it. They recently did a breakdown of drug abuse in
it's bad.
Massachusetts, and they ranked all the communities based on per capita, not population, but per capita. And Easton is number 3.
Yeah, Easton is
Commonwealth for the abuse of prescription narcotics, not illegal.
Easton is crazy. And I remember when my kids were going to school when my kids were young, and I'd go to pick them up at the elementary school, and you'd see all these hot young women, and you'd be like, well, who's that? Oh, that's the nanny. And I'd be like, oh, God. Not good. Not good at all. It's just.
Oh, dude.
Bad news.
The Brockton Family and Probate Court handles all the divorce for Plymouth County. We have it sitting in the courthouse, same courthouse you see. Let me tell you, you don't want to go there on the calendar days, which are Thursdays.
Yeah, trust that. Look, my husband.
You just don't want to do it. Trust me.
The husband works construction. The wife's a nurse in Boston, and they've got the nanny that's 20 years old that's taking care of the kids during the day when the wife is pulling double shifts at Brigham and Women's.
It's the worst thing. I know. It's the worst one is guys who own car dealerships. I don't know what it is, but guys who own car dealerships, they seem to have the worst, most extramarital affairs.
Giving those deals on cars.
What do I know?
I'd have to say.
So we got to be a little careful. As many of you may or may not know, Sinister One and I are in the City of Champions. Rob, R Squared is now the official title.
Yeah,
is in South Florida.
And, we could have went the corny route and just said the Colonel, but I'm like, no, I don't want to go the easy route. I at first when he said R Squared, I was kind of like, but now the more I say it and the more I'm typing R out, it's growing on me, and I'm liking R Squared.
Okay, well, R Squared is right down in Hurricane Alley down in South Florida.
Yes,
now,
we got to talk about
Hurricane Irene is coming in hard. So you all batten down the hatches, got out the the generator and the duct tape?
Well, I don't have a generator, but it's one of these crazy storms. It's very different than Harvey. Harvey just stayed around for 4 or 5 days, dumping a lot of rain. The problem with Irma is it'll be a normal amount of rain, but the challenge is going to be just tremendous winds. I don't know if anybody watched, but earlier today, when it hit Category 5, it had record-breaking winds of close to 200 miles an hour. We've never had a hurricane with 200 miles an hour wind. So the thing we got to hope is that the winds die down a bit, and there's a chance it'll go back down to a 4 before it hits Florida. I feel bad for all the islands in its path right now. But for anybody down in South Florida, you just got to watch the news. Right now, they don't know which way it's going to go. They just know it's definitely going to hit Florida. It could go Miami up to Jacksonville, or it could go up the West Coast, or it could go up the middle through Orlando. Nobody knows right now. So just pay attention. If you get the order to evacuate, you better do it. You saw what happened in Houston.
Yeah. So what you're basically saying is get the freak out of Florida for the next couple of weeks. Well,
unfortunately, there's nowhere to know how to go. You'd have to go all the way to Alabama, and I'd rather stay in a hurricane. So,
Well, burn on that. Ooh.
Before we get out of here, I got to give a big shout out to my neighbor Andrew Enos, who actually people saw him nationwide. He was all over the news for being the youngest Red Cross volunteer in Texas. He's 19 years old. He was down there in Texas. I actually talked to him. He actually came back. He was home yesterday, and guess what? He got the call. He did such a good job in Texas for 3 weeks that he's gotten the call. They want him in Florida to help set up before the storm hits. He actually left last night for Florida. This is a kid, 19 years old. My hat is off to him because you don't see many 19-year-olds doing that for the Red Cross. I wish more kids would take his lead. And while we're here, we've got this thing with video. I'm gonna try to go live with video real quick and test this out because we're live. I've got everything going.
God, here we go again.
Broadcasting live. I'm gonna turn my camera on.
Had a great show, and
let's see if it crashes. Well, I gotta test it. You gotta do this stuff in the field. And all right, my camera's on.
Okay, the camera's rolling. We're scrolling in here.
And I can see myself waving. We're still here. Okay. Can you guys see me yet or no?
Nope.
No. Oh, there you are.
There we go.
You're in the main cave. You're like, move the camera to the center. You're like, we're like, you're like.
The sinister one is on the video.
Well, I have dual monitors. I have a dual monitor setup. So my camera is actually on the right side, which is the main number one monitor. So that's why it's the way it is. But you can see all my Patriots stuff in the background.
Really? Is that what it is?
Well, I just wanted to let Rob know, that, when we come to represent, we come to represent. So, but we're not crashing, so maybe we can utilize this video during the show when we're here. But other than that, it's 8:06. It's a great show. I'm hoping everybody's liking this addition of Rob to the show, R Squared. Again, we've got this storm that's headed his way. We hope he's safe, and we hope that everybody else that's in Texas. I do have to say this before we're out real quick. If anybody's looking to donate, I was told that Up and Up, the Red Cross is the place to go, the place to hit. Get your stuff to the Red Cross. Find out where your local drop-offs are for the Red Cross. If you want to donate any money, get it to the Red Cross, and they're making sure that everything gets distributed where it needs to go in Texas. And that's all I can say on that one. I was hit up. We've got a Mark's event is coming up in October, guys. We've got that coming up, and we have another event coming up that we're going to be promoting. Ken, you were with me for this one, Perry Palucci's event for it's the Children's Hospital event with the World Premiere Band. That's coming up again in October. I believe
they were great. They were.
We're going to be heavily promoting that for them again. Whoobazoo will be going. Will you be able to go with me that night again with me?
Yeah.
Son?
Yeah.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, the World Premiere Band. I'm loath to call them a cover band, but they do play hits, but they put their own spin on it, and they're just freaking fantastic.
Yes.
If you have never seen them live, put them. They're on YouTube, right?
Yes, they are. You can search them. They have a world premiere
on YouTube. They're freaking fantastic. If you're a big Motown, rhythm and blues type of music guy like I am, and like Simpson One is, you'll absolutely adore them. This is what music was music.
Great,
not
great
this modern
stuff.
crap we got today.
Yep, they've got their own Facebook page. They've got a female that they've added to the band now. She's real good. She now allows them to do some songs that they couldn't do that are really crowd pleasers. So I love the fact that they've added a woman to the group. And that's about it. We're going to get ready to sign off. Robert says he still may have to teach tomorrow night despite this storm coming. Ooh, that's not good.
Waiting to hear.
With that one. So, all right.
I mean, what's a hurricane between friends? I mean, come on. We get them every year. I mean, it's a little rain, a little wind. Please, time to man up.
Well, what I like for me, I live on Clark Street here in Brockton. I'm right near Brockton Hospital, so I'm on what they call is the hospital grid. So I've lived on my street since 1978. We've only lost power once, and that was because a squirrel got caught in the transformer and blew the transformer up. But I remember years ago when we had Hurricane Gloria and everybody lost power, I was one of the few people who saw the season premiere of Miami Vice, which was the same night of Who Shot JR, because we were the only few people who had power that night because we were on the hospital grid. So I'm going to knock on wood, thinking at the fact of where I live, and hopefully down there in Florida, man, you guys don't get hit as hard. I'm hoping that it isn't as bad as land and hits land. So we'll keep our eye on that. But we're gonna get ready to get out of here. We went over a little bit. 8:09. Tonight I'm gonna let Ken say goodbyes first, and Robert, and then I'll close out the show.
Okay. Well, as always, I want to thank all of our listeners, all 12 of them, for those like you and Rob, and also in Texas. Guys, our prayers go out with you. Stay safe, stay dry, and for everybody else. Hey, the drought has ended. God has forgiven you all. He has allowed you to have football again. Name the Lord. Lombardi be his name.
Our draft is actually started. I got to get online. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Everybody stay safe and go Big Blue.
Nice. All right, so I got to get out of here real quick. Our other conferences fantasy draft has started, and there's already an issue, and I got to get in there and get it going. So, hey, you know what, SpongeBob, do me a favor, take us home.
Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning into the booth at Whoobazoo.com. Please make sure to tune in for more booth next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. New York Eastern Standard Time. Become a fan on their Facebook page and check out their podcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. The Booth is a Sinista One production hosted by Sinista One, Ken Diesel, and R Squared.
I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff. It's just that I'm up on this level up here, and all my friends are down here. Me, nah. You guys, nah. Maybe a little more down in here. Screw you guys, I'm going home.